Congresswoman, let me turn to you. I know you've been down to the border several times, probably most recently in the last month or so. We talk a little bit about the inhumane nature of what's going on along that border, not only for the migrants themselves, but obviously the Border Patrol agents. And I know you've talked to a lot. We've talked about how, some of them actually call you still on some of your trips. So maybe give the audience a little view from your perspective on what some of those Border Patrol agents are really facing and how, it's one thing to say, you've got to protect the border. It's another thing to have law enforcement agents jumping into the river, potentially putting their lives at risk because we have folks coming across that river that are being enticed to do so. So just give us a perspective of your visit along the border and what they're telling you.
Well, first and foremost, thanks for having me in this panel. This is critically important. I think that this is one of the pressing issues that is a defining moment in our country of how we handle this invasion, because in my opinion, it is an invasion. I've been to the border several times as a member of the House Homeland Security Committee, and I've made it a point to work a shift with a Border Patrol agent or a Texas DPS agent. And it's typically 8 hours, give or take, and it's through the night. And I ask them to take me to the places that are the most dangerous. And so probably something a little bit nuts in my head about this. But on my most recent trip, I asked the agent I was with, I said, take me to La Jolla or Roma. And it was about 9 o'clock at night when we started, and we went all the way up until 6 a.m. And the things that we saw are horrific. And I actually brought some of these bracelets with me. So you can stand on the border and look across the river and see the Mexican cartels organizing. They will pull up with their trucks, dump rafts, they'll have people, they'll have children, and you will watch them as they get prepared to bring people across. That is happening while simultaneously about 100 to 250 yards upriver or downriver, you have another group of cartels and coyotes that are getting ready to move product, or they're getting ready to move a group of what we would call gotaways or runners. But the thing that's important that I think the left wants to ignore particularly is what this is. These are the wristbands that every single individual, whether they are a child or a mother or a father, doesn't matter. Every single person who comes across that border gets one of these. These wristbands, they dictate how much you pay. They have a number on them for each number that you are. So you're basically a cow. It's like herding cattle. And on these wristbands, this one was 1,733. That's just one day. These get ripped off and dumped on the American side. And when you walk through along the banks on the American side of the river, there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of these, along with clothing, diapers, torn little girls' underwear. I mean, things that make your stomach turn. And it just goes to show that what is happening, it is trafficking. They are trafficking these people. And when you talk to the agents, a lot of them have families. And these folks say, I'm doing the very best that I can, but I don't have resources and I don't have a policy that I can really sink my teeth into to do my job. They're essentially doing their job with one hand tied behind their back. And I'll give you an example. My last trip in Roma, we watched for about an hour as the cartels sent drones up on their side, which, by the way, on the American side, we are prohibited from using drones. The FAA prohibits the United States government from using drones to help locate where people are running and laying their tracks down. So the cartels send up drones. They're eyeballing where we're at. There's very few agents in all these areas because we're spread so thin. And we watch for an hour as they get ready. They send people over. And the next thing you know, we get a call on the radio that there's about a group of 100 that are coming across. And there's one Border Patrol agent to handle it. One. And so we go for backup. And when we get there, they split. And it turned out, as a member of Congress, I'm running after a group. Turned out that they were from Venezuela. These are single male adults that are running from Border Patrol, and they only run if they have a good reason to run. Because when you come across that border, you are educated by the cartels that you want to be apprehended if you want to stay in the United States. And so one agent to deal with over 100 illegals coming across, you've got kids, sick people who are coughing and hacking. It's something that you really can't describe. And you're in the middle of the night with a flashlight and the headlights of your truck. And you are responsible as the single Border Patrol agent to handle this group, process, and get them secured to go to the processing facilities. Now, you think about the psychology of what these agents are dealing with. They're going home to their own kids. And their kids are the same age as some of the ones that they're picking up, some that have been abused. A lot of them have been abused. And it's hard because you want to give them all the support in the world, but their own government, their own Secretary of Homeland Security will tell them one thing and do another. And if you ask any agent, they say, don't send money, don't send anything other than a policy. Give us a policy that we can actually stick to and do our jobs. And I think that given the fact that we have no support, no policy in place, because this administration has systematically dismantled them bit by bit, I think that's the reason why you're seeing record number of suicides amongst Border Patrol, record numbers of retirement, and a historic low when it comes to recruitment. If you take nothing else away from this, which there's a lot here, clearly we're very passionate about this issue collectively, all of us. Remember this, we do not have a commander-in-chief. We have a trafficker-in-chief in the White House. And he needs to be called out as such. The cartels in Mexico control 40% of Mexico. The cartels control 40% of Mexico. Can you imagine if we said Antifa controls 40% of the United States? This is insane. So call it what it is. There's a lot of incredible solutions that my colleague, Representative Chip Roy, laid out. I also think we need to be holding big tech accountable. Pull out your phones, pull up any social media app, type in the search button, Cruzando la Frontera. You will find advertisements for people to take you anywhere in the United States for any price. This is how these people are actually handling the logistics, through WhatsApp, through Facebook, through Instagram. These platforms are complicit in the trafficking of human beings. We need to hold them accountable. And also, I would say we need to have a thorough review of every single program. FEMA right now, many people don't know this, but FEMA is actually funding the transportation of these illegals all across America. Much like he lied to my colleague Chip Roy, I had the secretary lie to my face and say that FEMA was not paying for plane tickets and bus passes. That's a lie. Over $130 million has gone out of FEMA pockets into the purchasing of airline tickets to move people around the United States. $130 million just last year. So remember, we have a country at stake, and a nation that does not have a secure border is not a sovereign nation. This is a national security issue. This is a public health issue. This is a humanitarian issue. And we have to put this first and foremost on the agenda when we take back the House in January.